Afternoon, everyone. This sitting of the Joint Select Committee to consider and report on the proposal to make Portmore City Municipality the 15th parish is now called to order. I'm going to ask Member Miller to lead us in a word of prayer. I believe you're anticipating.
Father, we come before Thee, giving You thanks and praises for guiding us safely here. As we're about to deliberate, we ask that You lead our thoughts, our action, our deeds. Honor the steps in those who are coming is our prayer. In Jesus' name.
Thank you very much, Member Miller. We have three apologies. Member Jackson, Member Crawford, and the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Audrey Sewell. Are there any other apologies? Any other apologies? Any other apologies? Thank you. Let me welcome back members to the sitting of this committee, a very important committee, because I see that the level of interest has greatly increased over the last couple of weeks and months as we deliberate on making Portmore Municipality the 15th parish. I must welcome representatives of the different agencies. We have with us NEPA and the National Works Agency, and of course staff of the Parliament and other members who are in attendance, of representatives of the different agencies of government. As we listen to the presentation of these two entities, two critical government agencies, especially when it comes to development, and especially seeing that we are looking to designate Portmore as a 15th parish, we need to look at the environmental issues as well. We are very cognizant of the environment, climate change. In fact, Portmore on the southern border is touching the Caribbean Sea, and with its vast expanse of housing solutions and the proposal to have additional housing solutions along the Bernard Lodge area, the environment is very critical, because as we build out any area within Jamaica, we have to be very cognizant of the environmental impact. Oftentimes, environmental impact assessments are done to ensure that we preserve the environment as best as possible as we continue to develop our country to provide solutions for our citizens. The National Work Agency is also in attendance. I know that entity recognizes its importance. A number of residents in Portmore and by extension other areas in St. Catherine and Jamaica are very concerned about the infrastructure, especially the road network. But I want to remind members that infrastructure is not only about roadways. You have drainage as well to ensure that there's adequate drainage to preserve the road environment and even the housing solutions that we normally put in place. So welcome all, and I do hope that we'll have a very productive meeting. We are now at item 5, reading and confirmation of the minutes. I believe the minutes, I know for a fact that the minutes was circulated. Are there any correction amendments, omission? Members, correction amendments? Yes, Member Daly.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Just, I believe it might be a typographical error, because I see where you have Member Daly, then you have Member Daly. And we have, for the record, I would want it to be corrected.
Member Daly, well, I'm sure Member Daly was an oversight. It must be Member Daly. There's no Member Daly in this house. I'm sure of that. Any other corrections, amendments, omission? Correction, amendments, omission? Correction, amendments, omission? There be no further corrections, amendments, omission. Can I have a motion for us to accept? Moved by Member Campbell Rodriguez, seconded by Member Daly. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Matters arising from the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, on page 2, Minister Warmington had asked for an update, read the submission from the Office of the Cabinet and a bill to allow for the independence of municipality of Portmore. Can we save that if we have heard anything further on that? On page 2, you had asked a query, so I wanted to follow up on that query.
We have not, I've been advised by the clerk that we have not gotten any update on that matter.
Okay.
That should not have come to the House. That's should not have been in the minutes in the first place. I was just asking something then.
Member Warmington, we should have asked for it to be deleted from the minutes to ensure that it is not carried forward. So we go back to we go back to, can we have a motion for us to go back to the correction amendments of the minutes? So moved by Member Warmington, seconded by Member Rodriguez. Madam Clerk, can we meet the necessary? Any other matters arising from the minutes? Any other matter arising from the minutes? There be no other matter arising from the minutes. We move to item 7. And at this time,
I think you should get a confirmation of, you have gotten it? Okay, sorry.
we welcome the representatives from the National Works Agency to make their presentation. National Work Agency.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard McCarge, Director, Major Projects, National Works Agency. To my left is Mr. Ray Parchment, Manager, Network Planning. And so I've been tasked to present this report. This submission, and let me just ask the question. I had communicated with Ms. Monique Gibbs earlier to indicate that we have an updated report. So I have 15 copies here. Can this be? Thank you. Just given to. All right. And we had also submitted a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not sure if it's available. If not, I will proceed.
I'm being advised that the Parliament did not receive the PowerPoint presentation.
All right, no problem. So we could just follow from the report itself. Thank you. So I'll just await the distribution. Please let me know when I can proceed.
Right, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so on page 2 of the report, I'll just read excerpts. The submission has been prepared pursuant to letter dated January 18, 2021, from the committee clerk of the Joint Select Committee appointed to consider and report on the proposal to make Portmore City Municipality Jamaica's 15th parish. The committee requested that the NAA, through its parent ministry, MEGJC, make a submission on the proposal for the Portmore municipality to become a parish. It is therefore, it is understood that the responsibility of public officers in relation to the Houses of Parliament are to respond in a timely manner to the summons of the Houses of Parliament or its organs, and give evidence to the Houses of Parliament or its organs regarding any matter relating to his or her duties as a public officer. This submission therefore serves as partial fulfillment of these duties. Just go on to the following paragraph. Consequently, and nothing in this submission constitutes an opinion or legal advice on the legality, merits, or demerits, or appropriateness of evaluating the Portmore municipality to elevating the Portmore municipality to parish status, nor infringes on the powers, roles, and responsibilities of either the Cabinet or Parliament under the Constitution. The specific aim of this submission is to provide information to the committee to build a shared understanding of the agency's mandate, work, capabilities, and challenges in consideration of the proposal at hand. On page 3, just to give you an overview of the framework in which the NAA operates. We are the NAA, an executive agency that operates under the auspices of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and is mandated to plan, build, and maintain a safe, reliable, and efficient main road network and flood control system. Jamaica has a population of approximately 2.7 million persons and is known to have one of the highest road densities in the world, as the main and parochial road network of 5,100 kilometers and 9,962 kilometers respectively traverse an area of only 11,400 square kilometers. And the total value of this road network is estimated at over $70 billion. The agency also maintains approximately 750 bridges and structures on its road network. We are a non-self-financing entity, not authorized to borrow capital. The agency's road projects are therefore financed directly from the Treasury. On page 4, I make reference to the Main Road Acts, as well as the Flood Water Control Act. So the legal responsibility of the management of main roads and flood control systems is enshrined in the Main Roads Act of 1985 and the Flood Water Control Act of 1958. Section 4, Schedule of Main Roads of the Main Road Act states that the director shall keep at such place and in such form and manner as the minister may from time to time direct a schedule of main roads in which shall be entered all the lines of roads which are or have been declared to be main roads. The director shall from time to time add to such schedule any other road or part of any other road which the minister may from time to time by notice in the Gazette declare to be a main road, and shall remove from the schedule any road or part of a road which the minister from time to time by notice in the Gazette declare to have ceased to be a main road. And I'm saying this because the proposal is to actually have a total of 25 roads that are not currently designated by Gazette as main roads, upgraded to main roads by Gazette. Section 5, power to minister to declare other roads to be main roads, states that the minister may, from time to time by notice in the Gazette, A, add to the schedule any other road or part of any other road, and declare such road or part of a road to be a main road, and B, remove from the schedule any road or part of any road, and declare that such road or part of a road have ceased to be a main road. I'll move on to the next paragraph. The Flood Control Act of 1958 makes provision for the construction, improvement, repair, and maintenance of works for the control of floodwater and for other connected matters. Under the Act, the minister may declare by order any area to be a floodwater control area, and shall appoint to be undertakers of a scheme any government department, government agency, or any statutory body or authority in respect of this area. Next paragraph. Ostensibly, the agency's primary responsibility under the Floodwater Control Act is for floodwater control, river training, construction of urban drains, and drains associated with road works. However, importantly, national responsibility for flooding, drainage, and erosion control is fragmented among several state actors, with various legislations relating to flood management designating overlapping functional responsibilities. Notwithstanding, efforts are being made to amend the Floodwater Control Act to designate the National Works Agency with responsibility for the implementation of flood water control. I'll move on now to the main corridors in Portmore. Portmore is well served by roads traversing its entirety, as well as a network of external main roads such as Dunby Holden Main Road, Lakes Pen Road, Mandela Highway, and Marcus Garvey Drive. There is an extensive internal road network, including lanes, driveways, local roads, and interurban roads. Road widths vary from narrow single lane to 4-lane dual carriageways. And so I'll just quickly make mention of the list here in the table, what we consider to be the main arterial roads in Portmore. There's the Portmore Causeway Toll Road. We're all familiar with that, so I'll not read the description. There's the Dawkins Drive, which is the main entry exit from the Causeway Toll Road in and out of Portmore. Please make the correction to the next, which is indicated as Portmore Parkway. That should actually be the Brayton Parkway. And it's about 4.3 kilometers long and runs in a general west to east direction. It begins at the Brayton/Upper West Henderson Boulevard intersection and ends at the Germain Road/Bridgeport Road intersection. It serves the communities of Three North, Ascot, and Daytona on the western side, and Silverstone, Portmore Pines, and Southborough on the eastern side. Then there's the Newlands Main Road/Cumberland Boulevard, description there. There's a Dyke Road, again very familiar to most, if not all of us. There's the Waterford Parkway, Gregory Park Main Road, Augusta Drive, Nuggerhead Drive, and Bridgeport Road. Currently, the National Works Agency, page 7, in terms of direct responsibility in the Portmore municipality, are only responsible by way of gazette for 3 corridors in the municipality. And these are listed below. These corridors are also illustrated in the map, number 21. And in total, they are about 26 kilometers in length and have been assessed to be in good to fair condition, but remain susceptible to urban flooding and climate change impacts due to proximity to the sea and the low relief of the area. And so the 3 gazetted roads, hence NWA's responsibility, are 1, what we call Nuggerhead to Dawkins Pen, which really traverses Newland, Cumberland, Gregory Park to Dawkins Pen. Then there is the Spanish Town to Port Henderson corridor, approximately 9.91 kilometers. And there is the corridor from Tambourine Farm through to Nuggerhead. All right, so those 3 total 26 kilometers. Page 8. So notwithstanding, so we only are responsible directly for 3. The agency has identified an additional 25 road sections of interest and have requested they be gazetted as main roads. The approximate length of these are 77 kilometers. These roadways are mainly in a bad condition, but include many of the main arterial roads within Portmore. They serve as main JUTC routes in Portmore and primarily convey through traffic, i.e. traffic initiated at and destined for points outside a local zone. These roads typically carry very high volumes of traffic, and so just by way of information, a typical 2-lane road is designed to carry at its optimum about 12,000 vehicles per day, and the reality is that on average, these roads are carrying twice as much, up to 25,000 vehicles per day. All right, so there's a major congestion issue that we want to address as I proceed. All right, so while the agency does not have direct responsibility for these roadways, it has over the years been directed to undertake various interventions toward improving their general condition. A schedule of these roads has been included in Appendix 1. I'll just name them shortly. On being gazetted as main roads consistent with its mandate, the agency will also assume responsibility for any bridges, traffic signals, signage, and drainage systems that concern was expressed earlier associated with these roadways. And so let me just quickly list the roads that are being contemplated, the 25 roads. So the first is and the aim of this is to dualize some, right? To dualize some, to rehabilitate just about all. So we're looking at major, in some instances, base improvement work, the surface layer, the pavement would be at least 3 inches or 75 millimeters thick. We would incorporate, yes, we would incorporate traffic signals, required drainage works, sidewalks where feasible and possible, road signage, etc. All right, so the first is Dyke Road. The second, we're looking to dualize as well, Grange Lane in sections. We'd love to have direct responsibility for the Bernard Lodge Main Road. That's from Spanish Town Bypass to Municipal Boulevard. Number 4, the Dumby Holden Road. That is Spanish Town Bypass at Tambourine Farm to the Brayton Park, Brayton Road intersection. Number 5, Lakes Pen Road. That's from Municipal Boulevard to Bernard Lodge Road. Number 6, Germain Road, from Port Henderson Road to Shenton Avenue. Number 7, Bridgeport Road, between Germain Road Roundabout and Gordon Lee Boulevard Roundabout, George Lee, sorry, Boulevard Roundabout. Helsha Main Road, from Brayton Road to via Helsha Roundabout to Helsha Beach. Then there's the Brayton Parkway, from Dumby Holden Road to Germain Road Roundabout. Number 10, the Brayton Road, from the Dumby Holden to Upper West Henderson Boulevard intersection to Nagahead Drive. 11, Nagahead Drive itself, from Brayton Parkway to Brayton Road, Port Henderson. The Port Henderson Road, which you're all familiar with. George Lee Boulevard. Number 14, Municipal Boulevard.
Just a second, let me just inform members that you can follow the description by looking at this presentation, this document.
Right, that's the appendix 1.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I'm at number 13 of 25. So that's the George Lee Boulevard. Number 14, Municipal Boulevard. 15, Passage Fort Drive from Newlands Road to Dyke Road. Waterford Parkway from Passage Fort Drive to Falmouth West / Falmouth East. That's 16. 17, Newland Road from Passage Fort Drive to Port Henderson Road. Number 18, West Henderson Road. 19, Upper West Henderson Boulevard. 20, East Mid Street. 21, Southeast 4th Street. 22, Gregory Park Main Road. This is from the Dyke Road to Newland Road. 23, Westchester Drive from Portmore Drive to Benbow Avenue. 24, Augusta Drive from Passage Fort Drive to Dead End. And 25th and final, Portmore Drive from Augusta Drive to George Lee Boulevard. And so the proposal is for these to be gazetted to main / NAA roads so that we can take on the full responsibility of their management. I'll conclude shortly. We just want to make mention of what we call near-term projects on page 9. These we are planning to have implemented within the next fiscal year, 21-22, right? And the funds have been made available. And so an important part of the agency's work involved the preparation of strategic infrastructure development projects for investment consideration within the context that continued rapid urbanization has contributed to decline in performance of urban transportation. The NAA has identified for consideration 3 projects within the Portmore municipality to inform GOJ's capital expenditure within the near term. And these roads are illustrated in map 2, but they are 1, the dualization of the Brayton Road and Helshaw Main Road. So this is from the Naggerhead roundabout to southeast 4th Street along the Helshaw Road. 2, dualization of Brayton Parkway. And 3, the dualization of Grange Lane from Municipal Boulevard to Augusta Drive and Passage Ford Drive. These projects are at the concept stage, and again, we're fast-tracking their implementation, and they are specially being designed to address recurrent congestion, improve road safety, and reduce vehicle operating costs, along with improving development potential. Consistent with the GOJ's drive towards integrated development, the project will feature the provision of water supply and sewage utility and the installation of fiber optic connectivity to facilitate future smart city, urban, and commercial development. All right, so just to quickly highlight a few other sections in the report by way of maintenance. Generally speaking, the main roads we have deemed, based on our assessment in 2014, that 55% of our main roads is rated as bad, 30% fair, and 15% good. According to the road master plan that was completed in 2006, the road network is deteriorating faster than it is being repaired, due in the main part to a lack of sufficient funding being allocated for routine and periodic maintenance, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. To improve the road network, the plan recommended a 10-year, $56 billion rehabilitation, reconstruction program. In addition, the plan also recommended that consideration be given to reducing the standard and level of serviceability of a considerable number of roads in the network. All right, so that was based on the master plan of 2006. You would have heard recently that the agency has estimated, so this is the latest, that 1.1 trillion Jamaican dollars would be required to bring the existing main road network to a good rating. And this translates to an annual maintenance budget of about 203 billion Jamaican dollars. However, this does not include the investment needed to make our infrastructure more resilient. Further, this analysis does not include the investment needed to rehabilitate and maintain the 25 roads in the Portmore municipality that the agency has interest in being gazetted as main roads. So in relation to those 25 roads, the preliminary estimate for their upgrade is Jamaican $17 billion, all right, to bring them to good riding condition, and we would require annually 520 million Jamaican dollars for their maintenance, to include both routine and periodic. All right, so this is where we had the amendment. So the report was amended with regards to this particular paragraph, as well as the original table listing the main corridors in Portmore. And so the rate for upgrade we used was 225 million Jamaican dollars per kilometer, and the average annual maintenance to include routine and periodic is about $7 million per kilometer. Consequently, any expansion in the main road network will require a commensurate increase in fiscal resources to ensure that the newly adopted roadways are rehabilitated and maintained in good condition. And then it just goes on to make mention of climate change vulnerabilities, so I will not make further reference to that. So that concludes the presentation. We're now open to questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marat, for that detailed presentation. I'm sure that the members are eager to ask you a few questions, more for clarification than anything else. But I must say that I am pleased to see that the National Work Agency is considering improving the overall road network in Portmore. Yeah. You know, I have some historical ties to Portmore, and I have seen where the housing solutions have outgrown the initial infrastructure in Portmore, and the plan to dualize a number of critical roads that bring the majority of traffic from where you have the housing schemes like the Brayton Parkway, bringing it to Nagwe to join the section that was dualized yes. Maybe a year or two ago in the Port Henderson era, right. Bring the traffic towards the causeway. Right. I think looking at also the municipal boulevard right. to get persons to Caymanas yeah. As quickly as possible. Right. I believe that you guys have already done a traffic study to get an assessment as to the congestion and the traffic flow during peak hours, because it's very difficult for people to move out and into Portmore during the peak hours in the morning and in the evening. So that is critical in the overall planning. Right. Before I open the floor to the members as well, I do hope that as part of the planning process, that you do not, the NAA, whenever they are planning the network to take over, to improve, that you put in place the necessary supporting infrastructure. You know, technology is now a critical component of any country. So ensure that proper piping or allowance is there for networking. And I'm sure the Water Commission needs to be advised as well. You know, you have to coordinate the work with the National Water Commission, because oftentimes whenever a road, it comes across as if whenever a road is rehabilitated, it just then the National Water Commission wants to do some work. And it's heart-wrenching to ever see that, you know, you wait 10 years for a road to be improved or rehabilitated, and then within 2 weeks or 2 days, you see the National Water Commission fixing a broken main. So we would want that level of coordination between all the government agencies to ensure, and I'm sure the residents of Portmore welcome the fact that we are looking to widen, improve the road network, and that National Work Agency sees it fit to gazette a number of these roadways. Members, any questions for the National Work Agency? Member
Chairman, thank you very much. I'm going to seek your permission to leave shortly. First, I would like to, I do not know if it's another correction, but the 25th, the presentation, the February 25th is what is on this new document. So I do not know if it's an error.
Remember, we had to do, if you were following the email thread, you realize that we had asked them to come and make a presentation earlier than.
Okay, so it would be something for tomorrow?
No, just today.
Oh, well, we have a tomorrow's date, so I want to know if I'm really reading it in the wrong way. Chairman, I personally would love to be able, and I know you are going to say that we have gotten the document a little while ago, but I personally believe there are some very serious concerns in regards to Portmore that I would want to see addressed. What I did not hear in your presentation is any timeline given with some of these infrastructure work to be done, and if it would be in keeping with any establishment of a new parish, because I personally believe, Chairman, that while we would want to tell the Portmore people about the niceties and the things that they will be able to get if they become a parish, but it cannot be something just on paper. And I would want to see some timeline in order that when the discussion starts in terms of the education, in terms of going forward, the people would know and get a timeline to see whether or not they would be comfortable with it. Because I personally have some objections and I have my reservations. Well, not even say objections, but reservation. But I have another little emergency, and I would love for you to give me permission to leave, and I will join back the discussion at the next meeting. Thank you.
Member Daly, permission is granted, but just to inform you that while we welcome this proposal to improve the infrastructure of General Portmore, parish status is not in just improving road network. I don't want that misconception to settle in. But I appreciate the need for us to ensure that any area within this country that there is proper infrastructure to carry our citizens throughout the country. And so I am pleased to see that the NAA is thinking ahead. In fact, he mentioned what is proposed in this year's budget. But I'm sure that at a later date they can provide us with an idea as to a proposal. But we have to bear in mind again, it is all based on the amount of funds available. So it's not anything that will be cast in stone.
Mr. Chair, I can confirm that the three projects, dualization of Brayton Road and Helsha Main Road, dualization of Brayton Parkway, dualization of Grange Lane from Municipal Boulevard to Augusta Drive, that the plan is to have those completed before the end of the 2021-2022 financial year. So we're fast-tracking the plans to get that going.
Any other question? Any other question? Yes, Member Mark.
Chairman, I sat and I listened attentively, and I also read the presentation, and it was very instructive that the director pointed to the NWA having responsibility for some $70 billion worth of road, and that in improving the Portmore infrastructure, they will be seeking to do about 17 billion Jamaican dollars worth of work, and also pointed out to some facts as it relates to the vulnerabilities of Portmore. But one of the concerns that I've had, Chairman, is the way how we have been designing and building roads in Jamaica, and the design and build of these roads in an environment where we are susceptible to the vagaries of the weather. It makes a mockery of the monies that taxpayers have to invest in these projects from time to time. So for example, in the olden days, my grandfather used to tell me that they used to build the road, and they used to do what they call camber. I don't know if camber is the correct word, but the road would be hoisted in the middle, and it would slant to the side, and then you would have the runoff that would capture the water in the curb and channel. We don't see that happening anymore. And if you look at the configuration of Portmore, which is vastly flatlands as seen in the NEPA report, you know, I mean, the roads are just built flat. So when rain falls, the entire surface captures the water. And I mean, the place is just flooded. I want to know if there is any plan afoot by the NWA for a major rethink, not just in Portmore, but nationally, in terms of how these roads are designed and built, because it is a colossal waste of taxpayers' money. And I agree with you, Chairman, fully with your observation about the coordination that is needed between NWA and the major culprit, NWC, in terms of digging up the road just after they have been rehabilitated.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to the member? Chairman, can I respond to the member? If the member has been listening or reading his paper, keeping abreast of what is happening. 3 weeks ago, I spoke in Parliament and made a statement as to the policy of government going forward as it relates to construction and maintenance of roads. And I made it clear as it relates to the Water Commission that there will be full coordination between NWA and the National Water Commission, which has started, whereby the National Water Commission won't be cutting up the roads after the NWA has completed the project, but they'll coordinate all the work they have to do. Where it has to be, the drain is talking about, Portmore can have Camber Road because those streets are too small, too narrow. But one of the things we have made clear that they're going forward, there'll be no rehabilitation or construction of road without proper drainage as a consideration. And I drew attention to Constant Spring, Hagley Park Road, Camp Road, the Mandela Boulevard, where we had comprehensive drainage in those areas, whereby we don't have flooding at this time when it rains. Okay? So what you're asking for, there was stuff that I spoke about in Parliament a few weeks ago, as the policy is going forward and what we are doing right now. So there'll be no rehabilitation or construction of roads without proper drainage system included, or the NWA or the National Water Commission comes on board at that time to do their work at the same time.
Thank you, member. Any other questions? Yes.
Pointing out that Portmore roads, they cannot accommodate Camber Road, but I don't know if I'm not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination, but I remember growing up in St.
Hold on, just a minute. The issue is, what I'm saying, it doesn't mean you want drain, you know. You'll have curb and channel on one side because they can't take curb and channel on both sides because of the narrowness of those streets in Portmore. But the comprehensive drainage system will be included. The camera you're talking about, those are for main wide roads where you have some wide two-lane traffic and you have sidewalk and you have walkway. But for those in Portmore, you'll have the drainage on one side because of narrowness of those roads. But the drainage will be there.
Yeah, but
Member Morris.
No, but I never finished my point, Chairman.
No, the point I'm making, Member Morris, I'm sure will cover or answer your concern. The road network in Portmore as it is, and with the number of the housing stock over there, we need to take into consideration the flow of water, especially when it rains. I believe that going forward, a comprehensive study must be done and proper planning must be put in place, that they take into consideration water flow and how they treat with the flood waters. Now, if the roads are that narrow, then the suggestion that you made will not be appropriate, but I'm sure that they can find a solution to address that. I know, for example, when they are looking to dualize the roads, then adequate preparation must be put in place to capture the water flow. Yeah. So, you know, I represented at one point an area in Portmore, and I lived and faced those issues. And so I empathize with you and share your concern. But I'm sure that as they dualize, for example, Portmore Parkway, the municipal boulevard, there's no drainage as such on the municipal boulevard. In fact, the municipal boulevard came into effect by accident because it was initially a service road, not a road designed for major traffic. And we have seen where the NWA, they have tried their best to maintain it. But as they improve it, as they improve municipal boulevard, then they will have to ensure that there's adequate supporting infrastructure in place. In fact, it is being proposed that to the north of the municipal boulevard, that the new Burner Lodge or new Portmore development will be developed. And so proper planning needs to be done. So I appreciate the point. I'm sure the NWA appreciates the point as well, member. And so we do not need to belabor that point anymore, but just to emphasize and stress that proper planning needs to be done going forward. The minister with responsibility for the NWA, he tried his best to clarify the situation as well. So let us...
Chairman, I just want to make the point that I don't agree that all the roads in Portmore are not subject to Camden. Because, for example, the presenter in his presentation made mention of roads like the Port Henderson Road, Grange Lane, etc. And those roads are wide enough that...
Look here, point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order. I don't know where this brother is going. They just told you about those they're going to dualize. If they're going to dualize, they must have what proper drainage. What you're saying don't make sense, sir. It doesn't make sense.
But
I'm talking about the narrow streets.
You made the point. You made the point that Portmore roads are narrow.
Members, listen to me.
Stupid point.
Member Mars, we are not engineers here. We are not engineers here. I am sure that the point is well made, and that the representatives from the National Work Agency will take those points into consideration. Thank you very much, member. Any other?
You not going to bully me.
Member Morris, you are allowed to speak and make your point. So allow others to do same.
No, but Chairman, you also have to speak to your reining the bully beside you.
Gentlemen, if I may. Gentlemen, if I may. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the NWA, Mr. Mirage, for the presentation. I apologize. I was extremely late today and I wasn't able to hear your presentation, but I did do my reading prior to attending, so I have had the opportunity to look at your document. And I appreciate that I appreciate the update and the status report you have given us in relation to the works to be done on the road network in Portmore, what is coming and so on. But I want to take you to a slightly different angle, and given the purpose for which we are gathered in this committee, your document indicated that one of the mandates of the NWA is to plan, build and maintain a safe, reliable and efficient main road network and flood control systems. And so to that point, Mr. Mirage, can you talk to us a little bit about, is there a standard plan or is there a standard protocol for how the NWA looks at setting up a road network in a particular area? My first question. 2, does the road network in the Portmore municipality and surround comply with that, with any particular plan? Did it at the onset? Does it now? And what would have to be done if we're looking at making Portmore a parish to improve the network, whether that means to add additional roads, remove some that are there now, to ensure that the road system and the network system complies with some plan that I am assuming, and I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that, would have certain features that you would consider in any plan that you would be setting out of a road system? I know those are long questions. I don't mind repeating them if you need me to. And if part of your answer is you need to go back and get some more information, I can stand down as well.
Okay, thank you for that question. Doesn't matter. Persons call me all sorts of names, but just for clarity, it's Macarge. All right, not Mirage. Just saying.
I thank you for that correction.
No problem.
I don't like to mess up people's names.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I thank you for that correction. Can you say it again?
Macarge.
Macarage.
Macarge.
Macarge.
Right, correct. Got it. All right. So I will begin the response, and I will allow my manager to my left, who is really the expert in that area, to support me. But just to be clear again, that presently the NAA is only responsible for 3 roads in the municipality, right? And generally speaking, because we did not have the responsibility for the build-out and the management of the existing roads, right? I could not here really say for sure, right, if they conform the network as a whole to a basic standard, right? But if the management of those 25 roads are handed over to NAA, then we will just have to seek to optimize what exists. Mr. Parchment, would you want to add to that? Okay, so he said that basically is a good summary.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the standard? What would we be looking at in terms of the basic standard of a road network in a geographical area? We're looking now at a parish status sort of situation. What features inform that standard?
All right, so typically by way of design standard we have 3 classes of roads under our main roads. There is what we call A, arterial, B, secondary, and C roads or tertiary roads. And so, Ray, I'll ask you now just to comment on what class of roads we're actually looking at. Is it A, B, or C? Because the design standards are different. So I'll allow Mr. Parchment to speak to that.
Okay, good afternoon. All right, most of the roads that we're looking at in Portmore would be classified as arterial roads. So these are roads that provide
A roads
that provide transportation from all the major towns, communities in Portmore, right? Their primary purpose is to provide transportation along a corridor, not necessarily to serve premises directly along the corridor, because the bulk of the traffic is through traffic, right? It's difficult when you say standard because there's a design characteristic for each road. So typically, for these roads, we'll be looking at 4-lane dual carriageways. We have a minimum lane width that we require, minimum turning radii, minimum pavement strength to support the type of vehicles that are allowed to use our roads, right? Depending on whether it's a road like Port Tennessee Road would have a certain strength to deal with the expected amount of traffic. Typically, the more traffic you expect on the road, the thicker the pavement needs to be, right? Hellsham Main Road, for example, you would not necessarily expect a road to be as strong as, say, a Port Tennessee Road in terms from a design point of view. Because it goes to a dead end, and you don't have as many trucks going along that corridor. So you wouldn't expect the pavement to be as strong as, say, a Port Tennessee Road, which is a main through road for almost everybody that goes to Portmore would travel that road at some point in time.
But typically the lane widths we're looking at would be
The
about
typical lane width
3.5,
is 3.65 meters is the standard for roads.
where sidewalks can be accommodated. We
Sidewalks
try
would
to
be
include that.
1.5 meter minimum.
Right.
Right.
Drainage obviously is a must.
Right.
Right, so that would have to be incorporated.
And then there would be control at the intersections, all intersections along these corridors, where you have right turns. Ideally, it should have traffic signals and a right turn lane. And for busy left turn areas, we'd put a left turn lane also. And the length of the lanes would be determined by studies that we would do for each specific project. So we would do traffic counts and other surveys to inform the specific design of a project. Right?
Is there such a thing as if I have 200,000 people in a particular area, I need 10 arterial roads? Is the math done that way?
It varies. It varies depending on the characteristics of the area and how the area is laid out. Right? Remember now that mostly what we are dealing with here is the existing situation that we are improving, and because of that, there are many constraints. So one constraint is direct accesses to some premises that exist. There is land ownership issues, there's drainage issues. So there's always a compromise between the cost of acquiring land, the impact to the community you're trying to improve. By widening the road, you will remove some of the development that already exists. So you always have to compromise on those things to get a decent balance that everybody feels that they have been well served. Because you don't want to come into an existing situation and just bulldoze people out of the area because you want to widen the road. So sometimes you have to adjust and make deviations from what would necessarily be the preferred design.
Question, Mr. Chairman. If you, looking at the road network as it exists in Portmore, would you hazard an opinion or a guess as to whether or not, notwithstanding the road improvements that are going to be ongoing, is the existing road network adequate? And if you're looking at a parish, would you be looking at redesigning the system in any kind of way? And I say that in the context, I'm presuming that when we're looking at a parish, we're looking at connectivity between towns, we're looking at a capital city that would require certain things in terms of its road network, etc. As it exists now, how far away are we from what would be desirable?
That's a difficult question to answer. What I would say to you, though, is that the main thing to look at is what is the acceptable level of service. So the level of service is determined by how long it takes to go from A to B, right? Versus the ideal time, which is when there's no traffic. So you have to balance that width of the road, how many lanes to carry the amount of traffic that you expect on the road in the busiest time of the day versus the cost of doing all that. There's a balance that you have to do with all of that. And that basically gives you a level of service. So you determine what is the acceptable level of service for each road, and then the width of the road is determined by that, the number of lanes, right?
And so to repeat what was said earlier, the capacity of
Right.
two-lane roads, and by and large, there are
Right.
mainly two-lane roads
Most
in
of the
Portmore, is 12,000 vehicles per day. And based on the actual data,
Right.
on average, it's about 24 to 25,000 vehicles per day.
On most of the busiest roads.
Right, on the busiest roads.
Right.
So the level of service is not what we would desire.
Right. So if you were to look at Port Henderson Road or Brayton Road in the afternoon, that is not what we would call an acceptable level of service. But if you were to look at the same road in the morning, the level of service is very good, because there is no long queues or anything like that. You get through fairly quickly. So the time of day and the direction also makes a difference in the level of service. It's specific to a time. and a direction. So we would look at all of those and determine what is possible and what is affordable, and we would move forward, and we would have a discussion with stakeholders and decide what is the best way forward based on our reality. Because at the end of the day, our reality is what determines what the level of service that is provided.
Member Miller, he has been...
Thank you, Sir Chair. I'd like to ask, I'm still learning the mechanism in terms of work agency and which road they are responsible for. As a new member of parliament, I'd like to ask a question. The road that exits the toll, which is Dawkins Drive to Portmore Mall region, and also George Lee Boulevard right in front of Passage Fourth.
Right.
There's always a bottleneck right at the entrance right there to that intersects Dawkins Drive and Passage Fourth right there to enter the Portmore Mall. There's always a bottleneck there in terms of as early as maybe 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I've not heard much in terms of that area. I'm not sure if that area is responsibility of the National Work Agency. If not, is there a trust to adopt one of those, that road as the work agency aspect? And two, is there an idea in terms of crossovers? You know, because residents complain a lot as well because of the one-way system there. You know, they're coming from Waterford end to Bayside end, and they would have to go all the way around the Portmore Mall, and it's a lot of traffic and time consumption to them, etc. So I'd just like to ask those two questions.
All right. We had George Lee Boulevard is not a main road. It's not an NWA main road. Right? So that's one of the roads that we would like to be gazetted as a main road. However, we have, over the years, been maintaining George Lee Boulevard. The last major intervention was the overlay. We did that some years ago. The area of docking spend and the connection with the toll road, Portmore Mall, etc. We have been in discussions with NROC for some time, on and off, as to a better solution to connect the toll road to Portmore. Because as far as we are concerned, it's below the acceptable level of service, especially in the afternoons. So we have looked at some proposals, but we have not moved forward in terms of an implementation because the design has not been finalized. But it's something that we have been concerned with and have looked at a couple of solutions. One solution that we've looked at is to dualize George Lee Boulevard all the way through to Waterford, and then bring the toll road all the way down to that road at a single intersection. And then the mall road would come out at the other end by itself. So we've looked at a couple of options. We have not priced them as such.
Member Williams.
Sorry, Sir Chair. The other question in terms of the crossovers.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The plan is to dualize George Lee Boulevard all the way from Bayside to Waterford. So you could go up and down without having to go around the mall.
Okay. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I've listened to the presentation by NWA. But what I haven't heard coming from NWA as it relates to Portmore becoming a parish, what is the forward thinking as it relates to mass transit? Because what I do know of Portmore, the road capacity as it exists now cannot be expanded much further because it's a very densely dormitory community. What I would love to have heard coming from NW is that, listen, what we're looking at is a 5 to 10 year fix, but we will need to look at how we can move people in and out of Portmore, whether using a rail service within the perimeter or using a ferry service. Because to the best of my knowledge, that thoroughfare leading from Portmore into Marcus Garvey is one of the busiest thoroughfare in Jamaica, or among the busiest in Jamaica outside of ferry and those others, right? So I would like to hear something, you know, looking down the road to see how we'll deal with these situations when it arises, because buildings are still taking place in Portmore, houses are being expanded, hence the population will grow much larger. What we see now is about 185,000 residents. And so for us to look at a parish that we need to have as a smart parish, we need to look at some other smart infrastructure. And we don't sit in the same place 25, 30 years from now, you know, sleeping in our cars along the road in traffic. So we need to look at another way, whether or not we're going to go overhead rail or overhead cars. We need to have some futuristic plan, even if it is not being implemented now. I see what you're doing, and it's very commendable. But will it last for the next 15, 20 years? And that is where I would like to see, because we're using Portmore as an example, because since the plantocracy days, we have not had a parish. We have not named a parish in Jamaica. And I think this is commendable for us to be looking at how we can have a new parish, and a parish that reflects forward thinking for the generations to come. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair? All right, while I will agree with your statements and your comments, I would offer that the Portmore Toll Road has 6 lanes, while Mandela also has 6 lanes, but Mandela carries more than twice the traffic that the toll road carries. Just as an example of road capacity. All right? Regarding other modes of transportation, the responsibilities for such plans and proposals are of another ministry, Ministry of Transportation and Mining. And we can share the comment with them, and they can make proposals or discussions. But our responsibility is roads and drainage.
Member, if needs be, we can invite the Ministry of Transport and Mining to make a presentation on general transportation within Portmore and outside of Portmore. Member Williams.
Yeah, I just have 3 questions that would help me now and in the future as we deliberate on this. I would prefer if you answer them one at a time. So I would just ask question 1 and then you answer it. I move to the next. And it's a very simple question. Would the designation of a parish have any impact on the existing road network in Portmore? Yeah, you're just from your technical standpoint.
Well, the main impact that is possible, I'm not sure what the plans are in terms of the management of the roads. All parishes have within the NAA a separate management unit. Each parish is assigned an office within the NAA that deals with the parish alone. I do not know if the NAA intends to create such an office for Portmore.
No, so what I'm really asking is, from your technical standpoint, would the designation of a parish call for any, I'm trying to make it I mean, I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I
Would it
understand
have
your
an
question.
impact on road usage in any major way in Portmore?
It's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, but it's important.
But yes, I understand the question, but it's very difficult to give you
All
an
right, so
answer.
it's not easy to answer. I mean, to answer it now, it's not.
Member, and to the representative, it's a simple question to answer. You know? It's a simple question to answer. Parish status should affect the flow of traffic. People go about their business the same way, whether it's a parish or a city or whatever. So I do not anticipate any. What would be cause additional traffic? Yes, additional housing, where there is an additional attraction. But I think the question is one that can be easily answered based on if there are any additional changes to what now exists that will impact the movement of persons.
So you are not able to answer it now. Because I really want you to answer it.
No, so we'll have to, sorry? So we'll have to get back to you with a response.
That's right. Good. All right, and my next question is, would you say the current road layout could accommodate the parish status?
I think that's a related question. So again, if you allow, we would have to get back to you.
Earlier I spoke to that where I said that we have to agree what the acceptable level of service is for roads and the purpose of roads in Portmore. So we'd have to look at what do we want the roads to do sit down as a group of people and decide from a planning perspective what do we want roads to do, and we can look at specific roads. What do we want this road to do? What is the 10-year plan, a 30-year plan for this road or this area? And is the road that is there now suitable, or does it need a parallel road? Does it need more intersections or less intersections? So it's something that we'd have to go and work on.
Which is what I thought.
I think you're speaking developmentally.
Which is what I thought my colleague was asking earlier when she was referring to the original design of Portmore in terms of whether it was laid out in a particular way by the NAA. But
it wasn't laid by NAA.
I know, let's move on. So my last question is, and it's important for me,
right.
Would you need to have changes in the road layout to attain, for Portmore to attain parish status?
All right, the reason why I say it's a difficult question to answer before is that those decisions have to be made in terms of what is the performance requirement, what does the road need to look like in terms of a plan for the community. And then we could do a desktop study and assess the roads that exist versus what the plan for the parish calls for. Right now, we are not fully aware of what those plans are, so we could not give you a fulsome answer.
Thanks.
I hope that was useful.
Before I invite member Campbell to ask this question, I want members and the representative from the NAA can assist me. Member Davis, I believe, wanted to get an understanding as to the transportation needs for Portmore, not just because we're looking at it from a parish status context, but generally to move persons with ease in and out of Portmore or through Portmore. Right? I think that was the essence of the member's question, and rightfully you stated that the Ministry of Transport and Works and Mining is responsible for that. And we are going to invite the member to shed some more light on that. Thinking ahead, some 15, 20, 30 years ahead, different modalities of transportation. Member Williams, I believe, was asking a question, I can't remember, is does the current road network limits or prevents us from establishing Portmore as a parish? Am I correct, member? Yeah. That is the question. So, and the representative, answered the question in that one cannot just answer that off the cuff like that. One needs to appreciate what is it that you would want to see in Portmore. I, for one, know that with the proposal to improve the housing stock in the Bernard Lodge area, and that being a part of Portmore, then we would definitely need serious improvement in the road network leading into and out of Portmore and connecting that development with the existing Portmore as it is right now. And the NWA, I believe, is thinking ahead because they are looking now in their proposal to dualize the municipal boulevard, which more or less separates the existing Portmore to the south with that area that is being proposed for the Bernard Lodge development. So I think what we need to is coordination and proper planning to ensure that we incorporate what now exists with what we want, not tomorrow, but some 30, 50 years down the road. Member Campbell.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. McHarge, when you were preparing to come here, you had a background that what the committee was asking you for was a recommendation as to whether Portmore in its present state is ready for a parish status. You had that as the background.
In my opening comments, sir, I did make it clear that, and I'll just say what I said then, nothing in the submission constitutes an opinion or legal advice on the legality, merits or demerits, or appropriateness of elevating the Portmore municipality to parish status, nor infringes on the powers, roles, and responsibilities of either the cabinet.
Thank you for your treatise, Mr. McHarge. Right. But let me get back to my specific question. Right. If you are asked to make a submission as to the appropriateness of making Portmore a parish, you then go on to say, well, really, I'm not interested in telling you anything about that. Isn't that what you're saying to us?
Absolutely not, sir.
It's as to the appropriateness or whether, all of that. Because I was of the misunderstanding that that's what you were coming here to tell me, that it is appropriate, given all the existing circumstances, that it is appropriate to or otherwise, to make it a parish.
Chairman, can I come in here?
Yes, sir.
That was not asked of the National Works Agency. The letter to the Permanent Secretary says, at the meeting of the Joint Select Committee appointed to consider and report on the proposal to make Portmore City Municipality Jamaica's 15th parish held on January 14, 2021. The committee took a decision to invite the National Environmental and Planning Agency, the National Water Commission, the National Land Agency, and the National Works Agency to make submission and proposals for the Portmore City Municipality to become a parish. They didn't ask them to make proposals. They didn't ask them to what you're asking for. That's not what they're saying here. The issue is, NWA is not in a position to tell you whether or not. Right.
Let me go to the Thank you, Member Warmington. Let me go to the specific question then. In terms of the financing of the roadways, you describe them as you have 3 major roads that you are responsible for. It means that you get financing to deal with the maintenance and upgrade of these roads. Do you know, for the other roads which are there, how it is that they're financed? Their maintenance and upgrade? Where does the money come from to do that job?
Well, as we stated in the report, the NWA has been asked over time to maintain these roads and to make interventions where necessary. So those funds would come from what is committed to NWA, primarily for our network.
Right, so you're doing work for which you have no obligation under the law?
Correct.
Right, all right. So when we move from that kind of informal arrangement, what is the estimated cost of dealing or maintaining those roads?
Remember, it is in the presentation before you.
I did say it's about 7 million Jamaican dollars per kilometer. So
This is before, in the presentation before.
Right, routine and periodic maintenance. Turn it off.
Have you always received the $7 million to maintain these roads?
No, we haven't.
And in making your proposal, you have said to the state that it needs to raise how much in order to complete the network, to bring it up to what you describe as an acceptable standard. What is the aggregate?
17 billion.
$17 billion.
Yes.
Per year?
No. To bring it up to a acceptable standard. So that's capital.
No, and we're talking about the
right,
area that we have defined.
All right, so let me refer you to page 11 of the report. The third paragraph. Based on preliminary estimates, 17 billion Jamaican dollars is required to upgrade the 25 roads that are being proposed to be gazetted as main roads. From there, we would require an additional Jamaican $520 million annually to maintain them over their service life.
Let me ask now, how much has, you say you need 17 billion, how much has been allocated, let's say in the 1920 budget to deal with those roads?
Chairman, I think this is going to be a Mr. Mirage. Mr. Mirage is the director in the ministry, okay? So that question, Mr. Mirage, he already said how much is needed to bring those 17 roads that they believe that NWA should take over, and how much it will need to maintain them. But the amount that was made available to NWA, there's not made available for any particular area. There are 3 roads in Portmore under the responsibility of National Works Agency. And that National Works Agency went beyond just deal with those 3 roads. National Works Agency rehabilitate and maintain all the roads that the JUTC uses, plus roads that are required are requested by members of parliament. Beyond that, roads that NWA found in their own assessment need repair. So there are no funds allocated to any particular area. So I believe the member is really budging. The officer's here, and he knows it, that those questions are not within the remit of what is here now today.
Thank you very much, Member Warmington, for the clarification. Are there any more questions for the National Work Agency? You're leaving? Oh.
Just for clarity, but after the 25 roads you're referring to, the NWA would have been, although it wasn't gazetted, would have been responsible for those 25 roads for some years now, in practice. No,
not all of them, member. Not all of them. Not all of them.
But majority of them. In practice, I'm not talking about being gazetted now, but in practice, you would be
Members, let me just answer this question and move on, because we have, I believe we have exhausted the questions for National Work Agency. Members, just for clarity, and this is what I gathered from the reading and also from listening to the representatives from the National Work Agency. There are 3 roads in Portmore that are what we classified as NWA roads. The NWA as well maintains road that the JUTC uses to traverse through Portmore and enter into and leave Portmore. The NWA at times assists with maintaining some other roads at the request of the Member of Parliament and even the Council. The NWA is proposing to gazette some 25 other roads that we call parochial roads in most instances now. And in so doing, they are also looking to improve those roads, dualizing a number of those roads, and generally overlaying, rehabilitating some of those roads. They gave us a budget as to what it would cost to rehabilitate or upgrade these roads, and also an estimate for the life of the road, which is normally 15 years to do the maintenance. I think that is sufficient information for us at this time. Member Campbell, the questions that you were asked, I believe, are best suited for when we are doing the Finance Committee of Parliament and looking at the budget and looking at expenditure from previous years and what is being proposed for the upcoming financial year. Thank you very much, representatives from the NWA for...
Mr. Chairman, I'm so sorry. I apologize. But I have to make a note of something, because I appreciate the submissions that have been given, but we have a task here to determine, make a decision finally at the end of a recommendation to the Parliament in relation to whether or not Portmore should be elevated to parish status. Now, I've had the privilege of seeing the letter that Minister Warmington read out in relation to the invitation that was sent for these submissions. And unfortunately, I don't think it is something that would have given the organization the kind of context it would have needed to make the submissions that we're asking in relation to our question. And so I want to acknowledge that. Because what I would have wanted to hear is, what is the planning strategy for a parish in relation to road networks? Is there one in place? Is there one being developed? How do we look at it in future if we're talking about Portmore as a parish? And unfortunately, the NWA has been robbed of the opportunity to properly opine on that, because we haven't given them proper context in coming here. I would ask, Mr. Chairman, that we take a look at those who we've invited for the future and contextualize our invitation for them to make submissions. Gentlemen, I thank you very much. I was grateful for your submission.
Noted, member. At this time, I want to say thank you to the National Works Agency and invite and you know, members, to be honest and fair to the Parliament, we have to also be the ones to contextualize the question as well, the request that we ask the clerk and the Parliament to convey to these agencies as well. So I believe that we have been very clear now, and so any other entities that will be invited, we'll ask them to make their presentation geared towards the question, answer the question that we want to ask, which is answered, sorry. Member.
Exactly, Sir Chair, and as my colleague member stated earlier, and I'm sure my colleague Member Williams was asking questions steer to that as well.
I figured that. I figured that. That is why I tried to bring it together.
Some questions were asked. It would be fruitful if the work agency could come back and give us some, responses.
They can I think
where
if
that
not,
is
they
concerned.
can. I think the NAA is aware of where we want to go. They can send it to us back in writing. And I'm glad that the minister with responsibility for the NAA is in attendance. I will ensure Member Warmington that we get even a paragraph or a report indicating or answering the question that was raised by Member Golden Campbell. Thank you very much, NAA. At this time, we take the National Environment, NEPA.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, all. My name is Peter Knight, and I'm the CEO at NEPA. I have with me Ms. Frances Blair to my immediate left, who is Senior Manager in the Planning Subdivision, and Ms. Camille Douglas Stevenson, who is a registered architect in the agency. Chairman, I could have brought other members here today, but because of the COVID restrictions, I just chose these two team members who were integral to the development of the report we submitted to the committee. But I want to give credit to all the staff members who worked on this report. This is an integrated environment and planning perspective that we are going to share with you. So, Chairman, we have presented and sent to the committee an 11-page report. We have sent both a hard copy as well as the e-version as to our perspectives on Portmore becoming a parish. I just want to make a point, an administrative point, that the committee should remember that the National Environment and Planning Agency is the administrative arm of the Natural Resources Conservation Authority, Town and Country Planning Authority, and the Land Development Utilization Commission. So we are an amalgamation of those three authorities. And what we are presenting to you today, we have not had the opportunity of sharing it with our authorities because they have just been named by the cabinet, but we will table it for the first meeting that they can be familiar with what we presented to the committee. So Chairman, we are presenting to you, and I hope you have the report, you can follow with us. So for the purpose of this submission, and I'm reading from the report on page 1, the information presented will focus primarily on the gazetted boundary under the Municipality Act of 2003, as well as the Portmore Development Order, the Town and Country Planning Municipality of Portmore Provisional Development Order. Now, this is a provisional development order for the Municipality of Portmore. And this development order would have evolved from a process of consultation, and I heard it mentioned over and over in here, amongst all the government regulatory agencies. All the government regulatory agencies, the residents, what people see as a vision for the municipality, and so on. And since the issue of roads was a major issue in this development order, there's a big section on transportation and traffic in the development order, as well as main road network. Now, what we have placed in the development order, which is provisional, which is to be confirmed by the minister, who is the most honorable Prime Minister, is what we would have received from the Ministry of Transport and Mining as to the futuristic, the vision, the direction as to what the area should look like, what the road network should look like, or the traffic network, and as well as the contribution from the National Works Agency. So what we are presenting here, Chairman, we have an overall objective and vision of this submission is, as I said, as to how Portmore as a parish should be developed based on planning strategy and vision that we are going to outline. And our planning strategy is to provide support and encouragement for the growth of the Portmore economy within a framework of environmental protection, sustainable development, and urban renewal. And here is the vision for the parish of Portmore. A vibrant parish seeking to undertake new initiatives of governance to promote a high standard of living, sustainable development, and sound environmental management for the benefit of all. That's a vision that we perceive for the parish of Portmore. Just by way of, we have included in our submission the location and the history. We know that Portmore is approximately 24 kilometers from Kingston, and we have provided a map. It is one of the largest urban areas in St. Catherine, second to the capital, Spanish Town. And Portmore has two distinct regions, the plains to the north and the limestone hills of Hellshire to the south. And just for you to know, because we're going to come back to it when we make arguments and recommendations, because this is important, that the area has a unique history. That is Portmore. It was an important settlement for the Taínos, Spanish, English, and Maroons who occupied the Port Henderson Hills, the Great Salt Pond, Two Sisters Cave, Hellshire, Wreck Point, and Nago's Head. Reeds Pen, Salt Pond, Palm, and Cumberland Pen, Fort Augusta, Fort Small, which is Fort Clarence, Rodney's Lookout, among others. And it is important because if you have this history in a parish, then you can use these for entrepreneurial and tourism. And it could be a money spinner if it's done properly. It's a vision that we are proposing. Just also to say that this importance continued in recent times with the construction of houses in areas such as Independence City, followed by Edgewater Villas, Waterford, Gregory Park, and Bridgeport. And this is fueled by the demand for housing in Kingston. And the area was further developed with the establishment of Greater Portmore. And I'm going to skip the legislative framework and governance in case you have a question. Just to come down to topography, that Portmore encompasses a landmass of 178.66 square kilometers. There's a reference being made to areas that we don't consider to be Portmore. Portmore is as described in our map. That is what we have based on the Municipality Act and all the others that I mentioned. And then the demography of the area is one of the largest and fastest growing urban areas, as we said, in the Caribbean, according to the Jamaica Country Report. And it has a large concentration of skilled and educated labor in Jamaica, which gives, if it becomes a parish, which gives it a fillip, a heads up on all the other parishes, guys, one of the most educated, the population in this area. And I'm coming down to land ownership because this is important if we're going to look at Portmore as a parish. So of the 17,866 hectares of land within Portmore, over 76% of that is owned by the government, and approximately 23% are privately owned. And you will note that the Urban Development Corporation is the largest landowner in the area. And over 70% of the total land area, very important point, we're going to talk about Portmore as a parish and how it is to be developed. We have to remember that 70% of the total land area is environmentally sensitive, comprising protected conservation, wetlands, woodland, and forested areas. And we have mentioned here about the economy and infrastructure, but I want to just take you quickly to page 4, that we have done what we consider to be a strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat in Portmore. And you can see we have outlined a number of strengths there. It has a legal and governance structure, educated and skilled labor force. It's rich in history and culture. easy accessible to the Kingston metropolitan area and other urban areas, potential revenue. Remember I spoke about the caves and also potential revenue from nature tourism. It's a very well organized, community-based organization and citizens advocacy. It has the capacity to develop the climate change park, a technology park or model facilities, and conservation, the Hellshire Hills with its significant intact dry limestone forest, which is also a plus for culture tourism, nature tourism. Weaknesses, the execution of the physical planning framework. In other words, some of the arguments that we have heard here today. The plan is there and it exists before this, but we don't develop according to plan. It's a weakness that we have in the country. So execution of the physical planning framework, the inadequate social and physical infrastructure, for example, no public hospital. So if we're going to talk about a parish status, you need to consider that you need probably a hospital. Vulnerability to natural disasters. Limited agricultural land, so food security will become an issue. Lack of central market district, limited land space for development, and squatting and informal settlements. And then Portmore, as a parish, will present a number of opportunities because the development of vacant lands into urban green space is an opportunity. Access to the highway is an opportunity. Ease of connectivity, waste management is a big issue. We already have a greater Portmore ponds, and we have the Soapberry wastewater sewage treatment system. That's an opportunity to direct the flows into those systems that already exist. So in other words, infrastructure is there. We also think there's great opportunity for the parish of Portmore. I'm speaking as this portion is going to be a parish. For the parish of Portmore to become a technology hub. I think somewhere in the thing we say like a Silicon Valley. You could develop a technology hub, technology center, and the existing industrial parks. And then again, we have put, it's a weakness, but it's also a threat, the vulnerability to natural disasters. Uncontrolled, unplanned developments. The biggest eyesore in the country. The uncontrolled and unplanned developments. That tends to uglify, use that word, everywhere in the country. It's a big threat to Portmore. And if you look at Portmore, you will see a lot, some of that. Let me not say a lot. You will see some of that. The coastal area, the territorial water is not under the jurisdiction of Portmore, so it's a threat. The migratory population and the labor force, disputing boundary delineation still in debate, restricted land development capacity due to existing boundary, and the fact that these are flat lands and drainage system and resultant infestation of mosquitoes. A big problem because the area is so. So, our proposal in designating Portmore as a parish is about making the right choices and getting the fundamentals right. It's about having a clear vision for the parish and creating a special place that the residents care about, one that nurtures creativity and entrepreneurialism and is attractive to investors. And I heard that mentioned already today, the present population of Portmore, 185,153 persons, and that is expected to continue to grow at a rate of 2% per annum. So if you're planning a parish, you have to plan for the growth of the population and plan for the infrastructure and the amenities that would be required. So to accommodate this rate of growth, given the limited lands available, there will be need for development to be more intensive and smart. So we can't just build a one house and flat, we may have to go 2, 3 stories. Remember, we're in the flight part, so we have to work with Civil Aviation Authority to determine how high we can go. But we have to develop intensive and smart. And it will also mean that there will be need for redevelopment of existing areas at greater densities and heights, as well as to integrate land use and transportation to shape the urban fabric into a system of mixed-use centers and corridors, along with a vibrant mix of residential and employment opportunity. So Portmore would be the second smallest parish in Jamaica next to Kingston, and the sixth most populous. But it will be larger than states such as Vatican City State, Principality of Monaco, Tuvalu, Republic of San Maria, and Principality of... So the point is, size really doesn't determine a parish, because you have big cities in land spaces that are as this. So Frances Blair is going to continue to summarize some of the issues that we have raised. And if you look at your images, I'm sure she will take you through some of them and explain. But Frances?
Good afternoon again, everyone. So I'll be looking at some of the proposals that should be considered in making Portmore the 15th parish. So number one, the designation of a capital or a town center or an administrative center is critical. Security and public safety, meaning the provision of safety and security services to all the residents, such as installation of smart surveillance system. Transportation, a just-in-time smart multimodal transportation system to accommodate motor vehicles, buses, bikes, tramway, boats, pedestrian-oriented streets, parks, and ride services. So we're expecting to, or we're recommending that a smart multimodal transportation system be incorporated in the planning. The transportation system in the parish requires urgent attention. The transformation of the existing and proposed transport center at Nago's Head, for example, Greater Portmore and the Portmore Town Center can be transformed into a multimodal transport facility, and as I mentioned, to accommodate different type of transportation. Park and ride scheme should afford private vehicle owners the option to park in a secure area at the station and travel on the tram, and should be equipped with service station and facilities that support electric vehicle charging. The design and construction of pedestrian-oriented street throughout the municipality, such as Municipal Boulevard, George Lee Boulevard, Fort Augustus Drive, and Port Henderson Drive, among others, should be developed smartly to provide a pleasant and safe environment for walking, cycling, hoverboarding, and other desirable uses of public space. The inclusion of elements such as shade trees, plants, green verges, well-designed street furniture, trash receptacles, energy-efficient lighting fixtures, signage, integrated transit shelters, and other amenities will also be added to the aesthetics of the area. And if you can see, we have included a schematic diagram of what it could look like. In terms of economic opportunities, at present, there are over 2,600 hectares of land zoned for commercial, office, resort, light industry, and the Caymanas Economic Zone and other uses that can be developed for economic opportunities in Portmore. So we are identifying some of the areas that can be developed. Some of the most significant lands are located in areas such as Nago Head and Caymanas. And presently, within the Nago Head area are several business processing outsourcing centers. In particular, the proposed Nago Head Technology Park and factories in operation. The intention is to develop the area into a major technology and software park similar to Silicon Valley. Mr. Knight had mentioned that already. The BPOs could be expanded and transitioned into high-level BPO service to handle medical and high-level technical advice for companies and industries. These include healthcare, pharmaceuticals, energy, business services, retail and e-commerce, telecom, automotive, utility companies, banking, supply chain, capacity solutions, and asset management. In addition, it is expected that the game and sporting sectors such as Caymanas Track and Jam World be developed and services expanded. The fishing villages would also be developed to provide an enhanced fishing, eating, and shopping experience, similar to what is developed in Arterial's fishing village. Sorry? And figure 3 is showing an image of what it is like in Arterial's fishing village, and that's a possibility that could be transformed in Portmore. In terms of tourism, support the development of niche tourism markets with existing sector to include agro-tourism, heritage tourism, community-based tourism, sports tourism at areas and sites in Helshaw, Half Moon Bay, Fort Augustus Drive, Fort Henderson, Green Bay, Rodney's Arm, etc. This is aimed at with the aim of branding the area a tourist destination for both local and international visitors. Okay. In terms of the green space and waterfront, as previously mentioned, over 70% of Portmore is devoted to green space comprising of protected areas, conservation areas, wetland, woodland, and forested areas. So we need to bear that in mind in our planning. It is also recommended that Portland Bight, which is a protected area, and the Helshaw Hills is a part of that protected area, be developed and continue to be used for conservation, recreation, scientific research, and education. Okay. We mentioned culture and entertainment already, so we can look at the unplanned settlements. That's on page 9, and the renewal strategy. It is being proposed that the existing unplanned settlements in areas such as Gregory Park, Newlands, Nuggerhead, and Old Brayton be redeveloped at a higher density in order to provide housing and business opportunities for residents in the area. These communities could be developed as 3- and 4-story walk-up with commercial space to encourage businesses, both retail and making of products. The use of 3- and 4-story buildings would allow for more ground space to be available for the provision of amenities such as open space, road, sidewalks, water and sewage line, and fire hydrants, among others. The renewal and upgrading program will be done on a phase basis, or could be done on a phase basis, and in conjunction with private, government, educational, and other stakeholders. As it relates to housing, based on the limited land space that is available in the Portmore area, it is proposed within the Portmore Provisional Development Order that residential densities and height be increased to between 125 and 250 habitable rooms per hectare and heights of between 4 and 6 floors. This will occur throughout the entire area, such as Gregory Park, Newlands, Brayton, West Bay, Naggohead, and Meadowsvale. It is expected that such development will comprise single-family homes, townhouses, and apartments. Due to the geological nature of the soil type in Portmore, it is important that all the proposal obtain detailed engineering input and reviewed accordingly. Based on social services, based on the sheer size of the population and the proposed designation as a parish, as well as in accordance with the National Spatial Plan, Portmore would be operating at the level of a regional center. Therefore, various social services would need to be upgraded and modernized. It is recommended that educational institutions, at least an additional 12 primary schools, 8 secondary schools, and a tertiary institution be accommodated in Portmore. In terms of health facility, a Type A hospital and additional 7 Type 3 health facilities be considered. Fire services, 1 additional fire station, an infirmary, and courthouse to be officially established. It is strongly recommended that the government seek to expand the capacity of all existing social facilities and equip these to serve a larger population.
So Chairman and members, let me just wrap up. Let me just wrap up quickly that the physical infrastructure, and I heard discussions earlier about the current physical infrastructure. We know that Portmore has an established physical infrastructure that requires upgrading, expanding and modernizing to include the Soapberry treatment plant could be expanded to take the additional floors. Because if you increase the densities and the height, you're going to have more waste, human waste to deal with. So all of those things will have to be considered. That it's possible that buildings be retrofitted with the appropriate solar panels to provide viable source of renewable energy. And similar attention has to be placed to solid waste management. So I'm not going to read, we have to pay attention to that. And naturally, as committee members, you know that food security looms large. And we have, you will look at an image in your report, And you will see that food security don't necessarily need large acreage of land. You can do tent farming. You can establish, which is what some of what we expect to see coming out of the Bernard Lodge agricultural area with these type of farming. So in concluding, and I'm happy to see that some members have read the report and have requested, and we have made it available. I've requested the development order, which we have made available electronically to each member. It should have been circulated already, and as well as the local sustainable development plan, which I brought the CD today because that's a kind of large, couldn't get it done. So in concluding, Chairman and members, we see Portmore as a parish. It represents an opportunity to create a model and a smart community. You see, if you really want the crowning glory, then if you're going to make Portmore, small here, as we said, into a parish, then you really should make a model parish. It's a similar discussion we had when we were talking about the port in Port Royal. Yeah, it has to be controlled. It has to be developed in an orderly and sustainable way. Because the residents who also live in that area, university degrees, as we said, highly educated persons. These are the sort of facilitation these people would require to remain in the area or to remain in the country. So we feel that the committee ought to look at these matters that we have proposed, and we feel strongly that if done properly, then the country would have a small area, and we could expand it, expand outwards, that we all could be proud of as Jamaicans. Thank you, Chairman and members.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knight, and other members of your team for such an insightful presentation. And I believe that the NEPA has a track record of being very constructive and critical at times. And we welcome the suggestions coming out of this presentation, because making Portmore the 15 parish is not just about a simple designation. It is more of creating a model smart parish for future generation. I'm going to take questions now. Mr. Member Miller, the first question is yours.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Let me thank NEPO, Mr. Knight and his team for this comprehensive document. It has indeed brought some information to light, and I will speak on certain points. Sir Knight, we have made note, personally I've made note of your pronouncement in terms of size does not determine a parish. And you have brought evidence to prove that. I might say as well that I'm not in agreement with the idea of wherever the municipal building is, that it should be designed as a capital. You understand, or your proposed idea as a capital, because the residents of Passage Fort, where I am honored to represent, is battering for Passage Fort to be the capital because of the rich edge that is associated with Passage Fort. I love the recommendations. I must say as well, Sir Chair, that it appears to me that Mr. Knight is looking at my manifesto when I was campaigning, because of a fact we have already been in discussion with UDC for the property adjacent to the Portmore Mall to be developed in a state-of-the-art park such as Emancipation Park with other amenities. I know the previous Member of Parliament had planned to put a bus park there. I want to get the input of NEPA in terms of if that is an ideal place for a bus park, or would a park such as Emancipation Park be adequate for that area. Second thing I'd like to speak about as well, in terms of the fishing villages. You know, already a proposal was written to JSIF to revamp the entire fishing village to make the back road entrance there, you know, a cultural hip strip of the Caribbean. And yes, it's very important. And the same example was used in that proposal as a fishing village similar to that in St. Anne, to be copied in Portmore. So I love where the area is going. Sir Trey, you laughed at that, right? In terms of the education institutions, I think you can give us some more insight where that is concerned. You said earlier that at least an additional 12 primary schools, Ms. Blair, 8 secondary schools, and a tertiary institution is needed. While I agree with more primary schools, more secondary schools, and a tertiary institution, I've not seen an infant school, and also if 12 primary school and 8 high school, secondary school is, do we have the space in Portmore for so many schools, right? So that's next question. I've not seen anything about a market, you know, and bearing in mind that we don't need these amenities. We don't need these amenities, Sir Chair, for it to be a parish status. But, you know, I've not seen a market or a cemetery, you know, in Portmore. The last thing I'll speak about is food security. Just last week, the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries had a launch in Portmore, Southeast St. Catherine to be exact, about the backyard farming, you know, our own economic and food security. And it's in line with what is in this document. So you'd appreciate that this document is somewhat dear and close to me, and I like the information that is impacted in this document. Can you just answer those questions, please? Sir
Yes,
Chair.
Member, through the chair. Let me thank you for the critique and so on. We propose, you know, in Jamaica, sometimes you have to be practical, but we know we were also going to be provocative. We propose municipal building because it already was there. We don't know the insights that you have been discussing about Passage Fort, but we have no hard and fast rule about the location. The issue about establishing, you said a part near the Portmore Mall with the UDC, that would be a good thing. It requires this discussion. And the proposal about the fishing village, our fishing villages, very good, because these are areas that are generally degraded. You need to lift the standard at people vending, people shopping, and it's a class act that was done to develop the Arterial fishing village. I mean, it's a pleasant place to visit now. So the point we are making is that it doesn't have to be a degraded, brought down place. It can be developed and, you know, contribute to economic development. The educational institutions, I am prepared to make the team available to you to go through, you know, the metrics that are used to determine schools and so on. And I'm sure that we did mention market. We mentioned it there, but I'm not sure. Yes, in our discussion. But remember, what we really have presented to you in a summary is the vision, the policies that are already written down in what is called the Town and Country Planning Municipality of Portmore Provisional Development Order. That would have been developed with the municipal authority, citizens, and so on. Bear in mind now that if we're going to move from a municipality to a parish, then this, in a way, just needs to be expanded. Or you may need to change a number of the policies. But the document is good.
Member Campbell, Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say thank you to NEPA for a really thorough presentation that has left a lot of information for us to ponder. But I wonder if I can crave your indulgence. I notice here you have the vision as a vibrant parish seeking to undertake new initiatives of governance to promote a high standard of living, etc., etc. Within that context, there's a school of thought, and I'm going to share that school of thought with you and try to see if you agree with this school of thought. So as it stands, there's a school of thought which says, if Portmore becomes a parish, it has greater control of its own financial resources, and as such, can meet this vision much easier than if it is not a parish. Because now, not being a parish, it has to share most of the funds that would come to Portmore by itself is now shared for the wider parish of St. Catherine. So if we narrow it and Portmore controls its money, what are your thoughts on that school of thought?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question because we did have a sidebar outside today earlier about this financial, economic determinants and so on, and we felt that we didn't have the capacity and the competence to pronounce. I guess that is the job of the committee. You're going to look at all of these options and to see when you, as the old-time people say, when you pencil it out, if it would make any sense. And I don't think we can offer an opinion as to the pros and cons of that.
So, Chairman, I've listened to the report and it's pretty comprehensive, but do you have the land space to accommodate all what you have placed on the table here, which I would say it's very commendable. And how high can you build in that corridor, bearing in mind the aviation path?
Thank you, Minister, for that question. We have placed in our report that we're proposing to go to 4 stories high. Of course, we would have to, 4 to 6 stories high, but we have to, in reviewing the application, we would have to get permission from the Civil Aviation Authority to grant that permission to do that. And in our presentation, we have indicated that there is over 2,600 hectares of land that is zoned for commercial, office space, resort, light industry, and so on. So there, in our opinion, there is adequate land space for expansion as it relates to commercial, office, resort, light industry.
And a follow-up question as it relates to, so what population over the next 30, 40 years you think can be accommodated in that space? Because we're not doing for now.
Well, remember we said it's increasing
2%.
So remember, I think that would have to be...
remember we said it's 185,000 now and it's increasing at 2% per year, which means that, I mean, if the area is developed in an orderly, sustainable way, you can have, I would say, multiples of 3, 4 of that population there. We have small cities that have larger populations.
Remember, I think the point, what we should get from this is that order development is critical. And order development is critical for this. In fact, the NEPA outlined to us that some 70% of the lands in Portmore are unoccupied, notwithstanding the fact that they are within certain protected zones and serious environmental assessment would need to be done if we're to utilize these lands. But I believe proper planning is critical and proper usage is critical as well. Member Golden Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Knight and your team. The proposals that you have outlined in your report, you indicate that they largely come from the policies set out in the Provisional Development Order, yes? Am I calling it the right name? It was a long name. I thank you for responding. I did get a copy of it, but I haven't had a chance to look at the order itself. When was that order published? 2018. And is it still a provisional order?
Yes, because sometimes remember when you go to a provisional order, you would have done the initial consultations and so on. But Francis, probably you know exactly why we haven't gone to confirmation.
The document is currently being reviewed, especially by the municipal corporation currently. So we're in dialogue with them to discuss some of the policies and so on. So as soon as that is completed, we will take our comments back to the Town and Country Planning Authority for them to make a decision on it, if we should move it to the ministry for the minister's confirmation.
And sometimes these are administrative issues. We had the minister planning with the prime minister confirmed 4 development orders 2019, right? And unfortunately last year we have another 4 or 5 waiting to be confirmed. And those have not, but once it reaches the minister, the minister signs them as a confirmed order. So sometimes the processes and a municipal corporation or a municipality may say that, when we did this consultation 4 years ago, 5 years ago, there are new developments. I'd like to take another look. I'd like to propose some changes.
That's exactly where I was going. I've had the experience before in another parish where I realized that the development order was several years ago, still in provisional status. So my question was moving towards, are the matters outlined in this development order still relevant? 1. 2, are they relevant in the context of a parish? Because notwithstanding you have set out here the proposals according to the order, when we're looking at a parish status, what are the factors that we ought to be considering? It's a question I have been asking. I can't say that it's a question that has been satisfactorily answered to me, but I want to know, as a legislator, sitting on a committee like this, what are the factors that I ought to be considering in terms of voting for one recommendation versus another? Is that something that NEPA can assist me to wrap my head around?
Sure, but let me answer your question. Is it relevant now? The answer is yes. Can it be transformed, this document be transformed from a municipal to fit a parish? The answer is yes. Remember the point we made. And as we go forward now, you see this happening in major urban centers, the corporate area. You have to go to height and density now in selected corridors, not in everybody's backyard, but in selected corridors, because we're running out of land space to develop. And we also need to find individuals' homes to live. So this, and that's why the proposal Frances was saying, that we have to move now from one house to put intensive development, 3-4 stories, and they can be creatively, we have our architect here, some of you may be architects, they can be creatively designed to allow persons to have their own space, but it's within intensive development. And also, I think the level of services would also be important in the transformation, the level of services that you are going to provide. Francis, you may want to add anything else?
The 76% of government-owned land that you talk about, I'm imagining I think you indicated it in your report, that a substantial amount of that is protected wetlands, that kind of thing. What amount of that 76% is usable or land that can be developed for urban use, commercial use, etc.? How much of that 76% does government own that has that possibility?
Well, I think I heard the chairman said earlier that it would require environmental studies. So we couldn't give a comprehensive assessment. We know that when you look at, we don't want to interfere with the Hellshire Hills, which is a dry limestone, as a protected area. But along the coast and so on, I'm sure you could identify areas, and we could do the relevant studies to determine, even within these sensitive areas. Because remember, you know, sensitive areas don't mean you can't have development. So you could have, in a sensitive area, you could have an ecotourism development within a sensitive area. Let's say the Hellshire Hills, you could have an tourism development in that area, and that expose persons to iguanas and whatever is happening in that space, and to research without damaging the space. So it would require intensive interrogation.
Well, Mr. Knight, isn't that precisely the kind of consideration that one would have to give in developing a, a provisional development order? Wouldn't the process of doing a development order have to consider the 76% of land that is owned by government? What can we use of that to develop, and is it contained in the order? I mean, you can refer me there. I'll be happy to go and read.
Yes, member, it's contained in the order. There are, to the back, there are land use proposals that are included. So you can look at it to see in the different local planning areas what is proposed for residential, mixed use, commercial, etc. So it's the proposals are in the document.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knight and your team, for making such a well thought out presentation. I believe the members really appreciate the level of discourse and how clear it was. So thank you again to you and your team for taking time out to come and meet with us. Members, are there any other business for today's sitting? Members, before leaving, I want us to lend some clarity to what we are expecting from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development when they should come to make their presentation. So, you know, sometime after March 8th. So I think we need to give lend some clarity to that. I think, Madam Clerk, based on the presentations today and the questions asked, and members correct me and assist me, I think the committee would want to get from the Ministry of Local Government, in considering Portmore to be the 15th parish, how do they see it being developed, the management, the benefits of parish status, the parochial revenue funding issues like that, SDC being a key agency. I mean, and they're already on the ground. SDC, I mean, how they will mobilize the community and inform the communities within Portmore. The National Solid Waste Management Authority, again, how do they deal with the whole management? They're already there, so I think what they need to show how they will improve improve their operations within this new parish concept. Another agency is the Fire Brigade. Again, another agency of the ministry. Again, with the expansion of Portmore, the proposed expansion of the Bernard Lodge, how will they address the demand that is there? You have a fire station in Waterford. I think that's the only fire station. I don't know if there is one in Greater Portmore. So again, the demand is there, you know. So these are the things that this level of insightfulness, we would appreciate that from the Ministry of Local Government. Yes, Member Williams.
What would also be useful, it would be if you could show the existing services in Portmore. If we're talking about like health services and the other educational institution, if you could show the existing services and institutions there. It would also be good, I don't know if it's your work or my work, but it would be good if you show the existing in other parishes to see whether or not what exists in Portmore is comparable with what exists in other parishes, or if it's far below what exists in other parishes. Also, in terms of a very topical issue, people talk about it, is the hospital. But also, you could factor in, I think, and Mr. Knight, you could help us with that, is what is a limited, I don't know, no, not limited, but what would be the desired time taken from a place of residence to a hospital?
I remember also the Ministry of Health will better guide it, because they will understand demand and use.
Fine,
you know, so and the proximity, because you know, while I support need for a hospital in Portmore, not just from a parish status perspective, one has to appreciate the fact that, I mean, the hospitals are in close proximity to Portmore. Spanish Town Hospital is less than 6 minutes away from Portmore, and KPH is another 10 minutes away. But I'm sure that person in Portmore would want something 1 minute away, you know. So I think we have given the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development some ideas to what you would want to see at the next meeting. If there. Oh yes, so we are at the date of the next meeting. Okay. Today is members.
Chairman, may we leave?
We are anticipating the submission from the Ministry of Local Government on the 8th of March. So I think the Thursday, the 11th of March would be a good enough time for us to have the Ministry of Local Government.
Mr. Chairman, I think that is the day when the opposition spokesperson on finance.
Yes, but that is in the afternoon. We'll do the meeting in the morning.
Okay. All right, good.
We can have the meeting at 9 o'clock so that you and I will get some time to refresh ourselves. So 9 a.m. Yes. Not p.m. member, not p.m. Let me use this opportunity to thank all the agencies in attendance here this afternoon, and the staff here at the Houses of Parliament for supporting us. Thank you, members, for attending and making your valuable contributions. There be no other matter, can I have a motion for us to adjourn? Moved by Member Davis, seconded by Member Williams. All in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.